So, welcome to how to leverage social media in the property industry and boost your career and find more deals. My name's Chris. This is one of the first webinars I've done by myself. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we get on. And normally, I'm interviewing a guest. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. We're going to run through a couple of bits of housekeeping first, and then we'll fire into the webinar. Obviously, you guys are all joining today to find out a bit more about how you can leverage social media. I've got some pretty cool tips and tricks that I've learned. I'm also going to show you some of the stuff that hasn't worked and some of the stuff that has worked. Particularly over the last 9 months, we're launching UK Homes Network and how we've used sort of traditional social media channels to help launch the business. So as I say, if you want to share in the chat any questions you've got, obviously it's a really interactive session, so would love to hear from you guys. If you have got any questions, we'll try and get to those as soon as they come in, or alternatively, we'll do sort of a bit more of a structured live Q&A towards the end. If you feel comfortable as well, we can always invite you up onto the panel, and we can do a bit of a clinic, if you like, regarding your social media, if there's any particular issues that you're finding with social media, and I'll see if we can diagnose the problem live on the webinar. Morning, Marie. Great to see you. Thanks for joining from sunny Stockport. Great stuff. So yeah, in terms of these webinars, they run every Friday. We're trying to do a webinar every Friday between now and Christmas. And then obviously into the new year, we've got some amazing webinar guests booked for some webinars next year. My next guest is going to be Tony Walker. Tony is doing amazing things in the industry right now. He launched Help Build, I believe it was probably about 12 months ago, so similar time to UK Homes Network. And Tony is going to be talking about estimating costs on development and quoting for development. So if you've got a piece of land, or you're thinking about development and you're not sure what the costs involved, I'd strongly recommend joining this webinar. You can keep up to date with all the webinars that we've got planned, and if you want to register for them, you can find them all in the UK Homes Network app. So in terms of what's in store for today, as I said, I'm going to be going into some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way in terms of not just my estate agency career and property career with digital marketing, but also from launching UK Homes Network and what I've learned in terms of what's worked and what hasn't worked. I've got some secret tools that I've used along the way. And we'll also get into more the basics of posting on social media, how to make sure that your profile's presented, and the reasons why, because it's always better to understand why we're doing things, and give ourselves a reason to ensure that we're boosting that efficiency on the output that we're putting out on social media. So if you don't know me, my name's Chris. I'm the co-founder of UK Homes Network. I set it up with my brother in January of this year. I've been in property for about 14 years, much of that time as an estate agent. Then, as I say, I've worked in property finance. I've also worked for a large house builder. My career in estate agency started basically making teas for the person that made the coffee. So really junior sales negotiator, going out, doing the viewings, that kind of thing. And then working my way up to valuations and running branches. In that time, I was offered an opportunity with the guy who owned a local estate agency to start running their social media channels and seeing if we can build a bit more of a profile, because they'd never done anything on social media before. And if you've ever worked in an estate agency, you'll know that 12 new instructions a month is a godsend. And after 12 months of relentlessly pushing the brand out there, putting out engaging content onto social media, we started to generate 12 new instructions a month, which was massive for that local estate agency in North Warwickshire. More recently, I've been involved with sort of a number of different businesses, as I say, so property development, property finance, and prop tech. I want you to take away from today that social media is not just about generating new business. It's also retaining existing clients and re-engaging with customers, and making sure that they're aware that you're there. Obviously, with the way that sort of contracts work now, and the opportunity for your customers to renew contracts, you've got to be constantly creating an impression with them and ensuring that they're aware of the value that you're offering to them as a customer. And within my more recent role, I actually retained 2.4 million pounds worth of revenue just from re-engaging existing customers. And then, as I say, in January, launched UK Homes Network, which is an app-based and web-based platform for social media for the UK residential and property construction industry. So it's a platform where you can basically promote yourself, talk about what's happening in the industry, share updates, and engage with a verified network of property professionals. We'll get a little bit more onto that towards the end of the webinar. But in terms of UK Homes Network, our mission is really to create a social media platform that is the #1 for property professionals to help raise standards across the industry and influence policy. We also want to inspire change, and we're dedicated to creating an inclusive space that provides and promotes the highest standards and best practices across the industry. So there's a real mission in terms of what we're doing. And UK Homes Network really came from the idea that in property, we have so much to keep up with, whether it's legislation, red tape, the recent budget that threw a spanner in the works. So to keep all that information up to date and keep yourself constantly refreshed, to chuck in social media, and do more on social media is a lot to keep on top of. So we wanted to create a simplified version of social media that people could use without the fear of algorithms and sort of spam messages. So if you haven't already, please do sign up. I'll leave this on screen for a couple of seconds. It's going to become more relevant towards the end of the webinar. So if you haven't downloaded the app yet, please scan the QR code on screen. I'm also going to put in the chat a link to the web-based version so that you can sign up there. It's free to create a membership and you'll be able to start networking. We've just hit 801 members in there as of this morning. So it'd be great that if you've got any questions that you're not able to ask in the webinar, or we've got some resources, some links, some tools that we can also send in UK Homes Network following on from this presentation. So now that's all the housekeeping out of the way. Let's dive into social media as a concept. And it's really got a love-hate relationship for a lot of people in terms of how they feel about social media when you talk about social media. And there's 5 key reasons for that. The first one is oversaturation. We know that there's a lot of people on social media, and in terms of trying to make yourself stand out and trying to cut through the noise of other industries on social media, it's so bombarded that it's difficult to make yourself stand out and create a personal brand for yourself. We've also just had a US election, and then even further back, we've just had a general election in the UK. And although I'm not going to get into politics, there was a theme throughout that there was a lot of misinformation about either parties being posted on social media. So there's a distinct lack of distrust with the kind of content that's being pumped out on social media, whether it's reliable or whether it's accurate. There's also algorithms, which are the main makeup of social media. I'm going to get into what algorithms actually are in a second, but it can put a lot of people off trying to navigate social media if there's someone else or something else determining your reach and how your audience perceive you or see you. The next one is privacy concerns. It's no secret that, with TikTok and other social media platforms, there's a distinct worry that they're listening to us and that they're using our data to basically sell to us more intelligently. you know, if you hold your phone up and start shouting random words into it, you know, like let's say camping supplies, it's more than likely going to come up camping supplies in your news feed in probably an hour's time. So a lot of people tend to be put off by how social media platforms are using our data. It's also quite time consuming, and I think that's probably the main concern for a lot of people that are on this call today, is that social media, in terms of creating posts, putting posts out, and then trying to create a sustainable business on social media, it can take a long time before you start seeing results. And property is such a fast moving business that we want to see results instantly, and we want to see them quantifiably. So it can put people off, you know, turning up every day to post on social media when the results aren't instantly there. But I want to reassure you that there are massive opportunities with social media, and particularly within the property sector. So it's estimated LinkedIn has 32 million users in the UK, which is probably about 40 to 45% of the UK population. There's also estimates that there's hundreds of thousands of UK property professionals currently on social media at the moment. So there's a huge database, a huge chunk of people for you to go at with your business that would be potentially relevant to the product or service that you're selling. Now, in this webinar, I am going to focus mainly on LinkedIn, purely because the people that are on this call are more focused on a B2B style way of selling, but also LinkedIn is probably one of the more complicated ones to use that can be replicated on other platforms such as Facebook. And LinkedIn, although it can be a bit of a minefield, studies have shown that engagement has grown by 44% year over year. It's also the second highest engagement rate among business platforms, second only to TikTok. And much of that success has been down to the fact that other platforms are failing. So without, again, getting into politics, Elon Musk has obviously bought Twitter, which has upset a lot of people. He's changed the platform quite significantly, which means that advertisers and sponsors are no longer getting the value that they once were. And Facebook as well, studies are indicating that Facebook is actually on a steep decline. So businesses are looking for new ways to engage with their customers, and that's where LinkedIn primarily comes in. So I mentioned we were going to talk about algorithms, and I think it's really important to establish what an algorithm is, or when we're talking about social media algorithms, how they work. So I've put my definition, which is basically a bunch of maths in the background, but the actual definition is social media algorithms are set rules and processes platforms use to determine what content appears in users' feeds. So what they're constantly analyzing is to see how relevant your post is to your audience. And then they will decide how much that post is put in front of your audience. So what we're going to do today is look at how we can make sure that those algorithms are accommodating the posts that we're putting out. And the social media platforms will say it's to personalize the user experience by showcasing content most relevant to individual preferences and behaviors. But as we know from people, you know, trying to put our businesses out there, they can actually hinder the user experience by not putting the relevant content in front of people. And if you go on platforms like LinkedIn, you'll see that it's you know, there's a lot of different industries, cross-selling. There's stuff on there that's not necessarily relevant to the experience that we're looking to obtain. So they work in 5 key principles. The first is ad integration. So algorithms prioritize paid content. Now, social media platforms are free to sign up to, but as I'm sure you're aware, they've got to make money somehow. And we've got to try and navigate doing organic posts and pushing content out while other posts are being prioritized because people are paying for them. Now, you can use services like Premium, LinkedIn Premium. They also have a company page premium, which I trialed last month. And yeah, there's some interesting things I learned from that. But for a business like ours, do I think that paying for premium services on LinkedIn necessarily gives us the best return on investment? Probably not. If you are going to get into paying for ads on LinkedIn, you need to have an extremely high price point of your product or service that you're offering, because the return on investment wouldn't necessarily be there from a volume perspective. If you are, let's say you've got a product that's £10, £20, or even £100, it would need to be in the thousands of pounds for the return on investment to kick in, and for you to quantify that. User behavior tracking. So algorithms analyze likes, comments, shares, search history, and time spent on content to understand preferences. Now, LinkedIn actually scores how much you engage with other posts and how active you are. And I'm going to show you a secret tool that I use to track that towards the end of this presentation. They've also got content prioritization. So in terms of how many likes, how many comments you're actually getting, how many shares, how regular those likes are coming in, will determine how much your content is shared. So if you look at things like TikTok and YouTube, they're really, their algorithms test constantly how relevant your content is to particular markets. So I believe with TikTok, they send it out to 200 people first. If you get a decent amount of likes on that, or a percentage of likes from 200, then they take it up to the next amount, which is 1,000. Then from that amount, they take it up to 10,000, and then they keep going. And that's how you get viral on, say, a platform like TikTok. And the similar works for Instagram and YouTube, where they will test your content directly to a particular subsection or a numerical number of amount of people. And if those people engage with your post, then it qualifies to take it to the next stage. So you've always got to make sure that the content is being identified with that audience and it's relevant to that audience to ensure that it's going to get to the next level, so it will be put in front of more people. And that brings on to the next point, which is relevancy filter. So if you've ever done any sort of digital marketing or set up a website, you'll know that there's a term called SEO, search engine optimization. SEO basically ranks your content on how relevant it is and how good the content is before Google puts it in front of people. And if your content's not particularly good, you're never going to rank on the first page of Google, so you'll never get particularly seen by a large amount of people. If the content's good, over time, you'll go from like the 4th page back of Google up to the first page of Google. And that works the same with social media. So if you're using particular keywords, like, for example, property development, and people from a property development background are liking and engaging with that post, that tells the algorithm that it should be shared and should be put in front of more people. And then social media platforms will say that there's continuous learning going on. We certainly see that with TikTok. You can manipulate your algorithm to give you a certain type of content that you like, and to discourage TikTok giving you certain videos that you don't like. So the algorithm is reading your data and understanding what kind of preferences you have as a viewer, as an audience member, to see whether it's worthwhile them sharing that content. Now, quite a daunting statistic that on LinkedIn, typically an average post will only ever be seen by 10 to 15% of your connections, which means that you've got to work extremely hard to make sure that your profile, your account is optimized to make sure that you're going to get the best results. So I'm going to dive into some quick housekeeping in terms of the best way to make sure that your profile, that you're ready and you're set up on social media, so that platforms like LinkedIn know that your account is completed and therefore they can push you out in front of more people. So one of my favorite ones is a professional photo. You are 60% more likely to have engagement if you have a good profile picture or upload a profile picture to your social media platforms. One of the tips I was given a few months ago was that you will see a lot of influencers, particularly within the business space, will have a particularly colorful shirt, or they will have a item of clothing that is trademarked to them. So whether that's a hat that they're wearing, or maybe a bright orange shirt, and you'll always see that in their profile picture. And then when they go to networking events, or they're speaking at events, they'll wear that same shirt, because it makes them more identifiable on social media and makes them people more likely to engage once they've met them in person, by identifying that person by what they're wearing in their profile picture. So that's something to consider. But obviously, using a high HD image, high resolution image in your profile picture is going to maximize and build trust with your audience. You also want to use a clear bio headline, highlight your role, your expertise, and your value proposition. You want to make sure people understand exactly what it is you do right from the off, so that people can decide whether they send you a friend request, a connection request. But also, it makes it easier when you're liking, engaging in comments, commenting on other people's posts. They can identify whether you're the right person that they want to respond to. Contact information, ensure it's up to date. A lot of people's social media profiles are probably 10 years old. Should we say 10 years old? So the amount of people that still use their Hotmail email address that they had from 10 years ago, that's no longer relevant on their social media accounts. If there is a business opportunity and people do want to get in contact with you specifically in a formal setting like an email, if you don't have the right email address in there, it's going to make them really difficult. Plus, what I'd say is that you want to always keep up on top of what the social media platforms are doing, and they will email you updates of how their platform is changing. So if you don't have the right email address or contact information in there, then people can't find you. I think there's a lot of concerns around privacy and data. So what you can do in terms of to manage that versus sharing your email address or your contact number on a platform like LinkedIn is have a personal account and a professional account. And the professional account would have maybe a sales at email address at, and a personal account would have your, say, Chris at UK Homes Network account. And then you can decide how big the privacy filters are to who you accept and who you don't accept on those platforms. This is more relevant, particularly to platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn, but experience and achievements. You want to showcase your skills, past projects, and key accomplishments. There's quite a few fields on your LinkedIn profile that you can fill out. Those are going to build trust with your audience overnight. So if people are looking at your profile, deciding whether they want to do business with you, if you've got a long list of achievements and skills and experience, they're more likely to engage with you online. So make sure that that profile is completely filled out. And that brings us nicely on to the next point, which is relevant keywords. So you want to ensure that you are identifying what the keywords are, again, from that SEO perspective of, if I want to attract property developers, I need to be using the keyword property development quite regularly within my profile. So with your experience, achievements, your bio, your headline, you want to be using keywords like property development, because the algorithm will pick up that that's who you're looking to connect with. So always have it in the back of your mind that you need to be using those keywords to to make the post, your content online, as relevant to that market as possible. So why it all matters. First impressions count. It takes just 0.05 seconds for someone to judge your profile, making professionalism crucial. So all the things we've just talked about, as long as they're up to date, it will give that instant first impression, so that if people quickly scan over your social media profile, they'll be able to see that you've got all the relevant information in there, and a filled out profile is a profile that they can trust. Improved visibility. Profiles with photos get 12 times more views and are 40% more likely to attract opportunities. So yeah, in terms of sharing content, in terms of profile pictures, that's exactly what you want to do. You also want to build trust. So 81% of people research profiles before engaging, and a detailed profile boosts credibility. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what posts are, and in terms of how what kind of posts you should be putting out on social media, what is going to drive you the highest level of engagement. Apologize, I've used my face quite a lot because I didn't want to sort of use anyone else's social media profiles in this presentation. So yeah, I do apologize. You're going to see quite a bit of me today, but these are real world examples that we can use to highlight where the engagement has come and where it hasn't worked. So multi-image posts have the highest engagement rate at 3.85%. So that's if you've been out and you've seen a development and you've taken multiple photos of that development, you want to be uploading that with a extensive post about how that development has taken shape and offering interesting content around that. Video content has been the most shared content type. Videos, I'm going to get into a little bit of a session on videos in a second, but yeah, if you can do video content, it is massively beneficial to you. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn have all seen the rise of TikTok over the last, since COVID, where it literally came out of nowhere. And the social media algorithms have had to adapt to the fact that a lot of people are now choosing to spend their time on TikTok. So they're promoting more video content. So if you have got the option to do video, it is well worth doing. And if you're struggling for something to come up with in terms of content, you can come up with polls, because they're a nice, simple way to engage your audience, but they also get the highest impression rate, because it's really easy for someone just to respond and give you their opinion and be engaged in your post without having to spend too much time on it, which then pushes up the impressions and the amount of people that see it online. So I'm going to get into best practice in terms of some of the do's and don'ts of social media. So don't use links. It's a mistake I've made, and I probably use at least one link a month. But the idea of social media algorithms is they want to keep you in the platform for as long as possible. And if you're using external links to external websites, the social media platform will downrank that post and put it in front of less people, because they don't want to take you away from their social media platform. So it dramatically reduces your exposure. You might do a post that you're really, really proud of, or you might share a blog that you're really, really proud of. But unfortunately, the social media company won't understand how relevant or how important that content is. All they'll see it is that you're trying to take their traffic away from their platform. We've already talked about this, but video is preferred. According to LinkedIn, videos get 5 times more engagement than any other content types on their platform. So if you can do video, I strongly recommend it. In terms of some of the video content that I do, it tends to be a lot of just filming myself. And if you're walking the dog in the morning and you've got an update that you think is relevant, take your phone out, video yourself, you can bring that video back to the office or back to your desk, and you can use some software tools to add some subtitles, and you can put it out on social media. That process I've got down to about 20 minutes in total. And once you get into the flow of that, you can start putting out some really, really interesting content really quickly that doesn't have to be really high production, high value, book a studio suite, that kind of stuff. We'll also talk about spam. So spam is one of the things that the social media algorithms are looking for. And one of the ways that they detect spam is through how you leverage hashtags and tags. So typically, you only want to be using 2 to 5 hashtags per post. Any more than that, you are telling the algorithm that you're trying to identify multiple markets and put it in through and basically spam people who are following that hashtag. The same works for the amount of people that you tag in a post. So if you're tagging sort of 18 people, then the social media algorithm will realize that you are trying to spam all those people by tagging them in that particular post. Yes, they will get a notification and probably like your post, but it will reduce the further reach that it gets put up in front of their audiences because it's flagged as spam. You want to share with knowledge. So when you are sharing posts, the last thing you want to do is just repost something, share something, retweet something without stamping your authority on the post. If you don't stamp your authority on the post by putting a caption or by putting your opinion on the original post, all the engagement that you're trying to generate goes directly to the original post. So for example, if I'm sharing a post about my football team, and I then decide to put reshare with a post, and then actually comment on the result, people are more likely to like and engage with my comment than the original post. However, if I just share the result of my football team that weekend, people are more likely to go back to the original post and see all the comments and engage with that post. So yeah, don't ever share anything without first commenting on it or making sure that your opinion has been shared with that post. Apologies, I'm going to say post a lot. It's starting to annoy me, so I can only imagine what it's like for you guys watching this. Don't repeat posts. I see a lot of people do this, and I've even seen some digital marketers do this, is that they'll put something out on social media, it will work, they'll get a high level of engagement, and they'll decide, do you know what, I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to post it in about 3 or 4 weeks time and see if we can generate some more interest from it. Some people do it with special offers or, a particular product launch. They'll just, or even like a webinar like this, they'll just copy and paste the same text and then repost it in 2 weeks time. The algorithms will immediately pick up that that's duplicated content, and you'll notice that you won't get the levels of engagement that you were hoping for. So you always want to be doing authentic, brand new, fresh, exciting content when you're putting it out on social media. Now, I mentioned about videos a second ago in terms of going to the park, filming yourself, talking about a company update and sharing what it is that you're doing or offering value to your audience. In that, you want to be making sure that you're giving eye contact to the camera at all times. You are 35% more likely to generate engagement if you are staring at the camera, if you are giving your audience eye contact. Not only does it build trust, but it allows people to identify with you in that situation, and it actually feels like a normal conversation. It's the same with your profile picture and any pictures you're putting out on social media. You will find that if you're giving eye contact in those images, you are more likely to get engagement with it. Just a cool little trick that I learned probably in February of this year, and I've been trying to do it ever since. Now, we've talked about the do's and don'ts of posts and what you should and what you shouldn't do, but I think it's really important to take a step back and look at how we come up with these posts in the first place, because we've already mentioned that social media is time consuming, and trying to understand what we're putting out when we're putting it out can be the hardest battle. I have to regularly every week come up with social media posts, and the problem that I find is the inspiration part takes the longest, deciding what it is I'm actually going to post. So I've decided 5 key principles that help me come up with those posts, and I try to follow them every single time when I'm doing my social media schedule. The first one is a niche focus. So everyone on this call, I'm sort of having a look around at the sort of different people we've got on the call, and I don't think anyone does the same business as the last person, which means that you guys all have a unique perspective on the property industry. You have information, content, you have an experience that you can offer to your audience that they won't necessarily have experienced. So whether you're doing serviced accommodation, you're building houses, you're doing flips, each experience on site is going to be different to the last person. Whether a contractor doesn't turn up on time, whether bill costs have gone up, those experiences are going to be unique to you, but they are going to resonate quite widely across the property industry. So you want to focus on your specific set of skills and what it is you bring to the industry, and help educate other people on it. That's the first core principle that's going to really, really help you decide what to come up with in terms of your posts. Next up is quality content. So you want to prioritize high quality and valuable posts. Bad grammar, if you're using blurry images, stuff that's not to the highest standard, one, the social media algorithm will pick up on it because they can actually determine whether your images are HD or not. But also, if it's written badly, one, your audience will recognize that straight away and see that you've not put in the effort with the post. But second of all, the social media algorithm will recognize that it's littered with grammatical mistakes and also spelling mistakes. So they're less likely to push it in front of other people. Emotive language, I've got an example of this coming up, but you want to be using emotive language so that your audience resonate with how you were feeling in that experience. I've previously put out posts that have no emotive language and posts that have got emotive language, and the levels of likes and comments that I get versus no emotion versus emotion is night and day. You want your audience to be feeling something of how you were feeling in that moment of how you wrote that post, because then they can empathize with you and they can offer their comments, their likes, and they can help share it. Consistent branding. You will see this a lot on LinkedIn, particularly with smaller businesses that are just getting up and running, but I still see it being made by larger businesses that make this mistake, which is consistent branding. We've got lots of different logos, we've got lots of different brand colors, also tone of voice can be different. You want to make sure that, because social media takes quite a long time to build up an audience and also for them to recognize you on social media, you want to make that as easy as possible for your audience. So you want to be using the same style of images, using the same style of branding every single time, so it's easy for them to identify you. Tone of voice is something we talk about in digital marketing a lot. Tone of voice is how you sound from a perspective of your audience when you're typing it out into a social media post. So for example, Ryanair, Paddy Power, Monzo Bank, they use what we call a colloquial banter style of tone of voice. So they're being fun, light-hearted, they're talking to their audience, having a bit of banter with them, versus someone like maybe Barclays Bank or some big professional institution. They're going to use a professional tone of voice. So you want to establish what your tone of voice is and how you want to speak to your audience, and then be consistent with that. Because if you're 1 minute you're bantering your audience and then the next minute you're trying to be extremely professional, it's not going to have a same effect. It's going to confuse your audience and they're not really going to know what you stand for. Engagement, actively interact with followers and other people. So what I find is that for a lot of people that don't have much confidence on posting on social media, the best thing you can do is to like and comment on other people's posts. What you want to do, it's the same as you go to a networking event. You know, you don't immediately go into the room and go, "Hi, I'm Chris from UK Homes Network. Please sign up to UK Homes Network." Because people will be like, "Whoa, hang on a second. Like, I didn't come here for the hard sell." You go in there and you try to offer value to people and see how you can help people when you're out networking. And it's the same on social media. If you're showing up and you're liking and engaging on people's posts, they can come back to you when you're ready to post and like and engage. So if you, for example, Ben's on the call. Ben, I hope you don't mind me using you as an example. I regularly like stuff that Ben's putting out on social media on a you know, he posts quite actively actually. So every week he'll post out 2 or 3 posts. I'll like and engage on Ben's posts, and then Ben will like and engage on my posts, which will help grow my audience. So even if you don't feel comfortable about putting posts out just yet, make sure that you are actively engaging with people across the industry, because they're more likely to help you and boost those, make your post successful when they do go out. Now, guys, I'm going to ask for a volunteer in the audience. Please don't leave me hanging. If we have someone in the audience that would like to help play pop versus flop, you can either come onto the call, or if you would feel more comfortable, in the comments, if you would like to either let me know that you want to come up on the panel and help me identify what the issues are with this post, or could you put it in the comments in the chat and just let us know what couple of things you've identified between. Oh, sorry, just trying to read Ben's comment there and push the slides back. Yeah, so if you could put in the chat what you think about the post on the right hand side is flop and what on the post on the left hand side is pop. So the post on the left hand side got 71 likes, 24 comments. You can even see that my brother has liked that post, and my brother doesn't particularly like anything on LinkedIn. So I'm calling that a win. Whereas the post on the right hand side was a flop. We only got 9 likes on that and 1 comment, and I think the comment was from myself, following up on a point that I raised in the post. So if you could just identify in the chat why you think that one on the right hand side was a flop, I'd be keen to hear your thoughts and feedback. So I'll just give you a second. Ben, yeah, great. It looks more like an interesting photo. No, Ben, it wasn't because, yeah, you can actually see yourself in that. Yeah, so it didn't flop because you liked it. If anything, it helped it get a couple more likes. But there's some key reasons in that, based on what we've talked about so far, as to why this post flopped. Okay, so we've got on the left-hand side, we've got an emotive, clearly well-structured post, not overdoing it with the emojis. Like Ben said, an interesting photo, engaging, actionable photo where I'm doing something, I'm out, you know, out and about, and it's a high quality image. The language is emotive. I'm trying to get people to feel something from it, and we haven't done anything to try and up the engagement or audience size by using hashtags, links, that kind of thing. The post on the right hand side, the image is inconsistent with our branding. you can see that it's a bit blurry around the image of me. Yes, I am giving eye contact, but because of the dark rings under my eyes, you can't actually see that I'm giving much eye contact. We've also got a link. So we're trying to take people away from the platform. And if you've got a really keen eye for this, we've also got 3 hashtags that have absolutely no relevance to keywords within the industry. Property network, yes, but when we look into hashtags and the kind of people we're trying to target through hashtags, is there many people following property network or connections or webinar? Probably not. I think there's also a spelling mistake in the one on the right hand side. But yeah, that gives you an idea in terms of what you can do and what works and what doesn't work, particularly for myself. And this may translate into your own business. Now, I promised you a secret tool, and not many people are aware of this. If you're an old school digital marketer like I am, you would have been using this for quite a few years. I'm also going to share the link to this in UK Homes Network after the webinar. So please do log in and check that out. We've talked about algorithms. We've talked about the way LinkedIn ranks content. But I bet you didn't know LinkedIn also ranks you. So it determines what your level of performance on social media means for the rest of your audience. And you can actually identify that by looking at your SSSI score. So it's your social selling index. And LinkedIn used this to determine how much of an influencer you are within your industry. Now, I promised you I would use real life examples, and this is actually mine. So you can see that based on the industry that I'm in the top 1%. In terms of my network, I'm in the top 5%. My overall social selling index score is 62, which is 62%. And the average for the industry is 41%. Or is it 29%? The average is 29% within the industry. So I'm 50% more likely to get engagement than some of my other colleagues. And you can see there that it gives you some tips and tricks on how to improve that. So establishing your professional brand, finding the right people, engaging with insights, building relationships. So the quickest way to build your SSLI score is by commenting and liking and sharing on other people's posts. Once you've got that nailed and you're regularly doing that, you can then think about doing some interesting posts, maybe more likely on the left than on the right, to try and drive that engagement. And your SSI score will naturally go up over time. This is collected every week. So you can actually, you can monitor yourself week in, week out. LinkedIn used to make this widely available for everyone to check, but then they realized they can monetize it. So they have now only included it in Sales Navigator, but if you use the link, you can still access it because it is data that's collected on you as an individual. So therefore you should have access to it. If you've been on the webinar we did on building your property network, I've repeated this slide just because a lot of people found it really, really useful. And that's some of the stuff that I use to help me promote on social media to create content. So the first one is Canva. If you don't have a Canva account, please do get one, because this is going to accelerate the level of high quality content that you're putting out. Loads of tutorials on YouTube, TikTok. They've now introduced AI, so they can actually create posts and content for you without you having to do very much, just putting the prompts in there. Canva does a free version. So if you're just starting out, you can get on the free version, and then when you're ready to, you can upgrade, and I think it's like 25 quid a month. And then if you've got a business where you've got multiple seats within your marketing team that would need it, I think it goes up to about 60 quid for 5 seats to use Canva. So it's not a lot of money, but the reward is great because you can really make some authentic, engaging content through Canva. And that's the one on the top here where you can see the images, and you'll probably recognize my post being made in Canva. Next one is Trello. Trello is a project management board. You can create a free account with that. Oh, brilliant. So someone pays, I pay for Pro £12 and can still invite people to my team. Amazing. Yeah, I think they said last month as well, didn't they? They were like, there was a big uproar because they were going to put their prices up. And then everyone said, no, we don't want you to put prices up. And they actually listened, which you don't normally hear from a SaaS company. So that was fantastic. So yeah, Canva is really reasonable for the prices. Trello, yeah, project management board. It's a great way of keeping track of what you're going to post out, when you're going to post it, how finalized your ideas are for social media posts. Third one is Veed. Veed is what I use for all my videos. So I'll chuck Veed, this webinar, the recording of this webinar, into Veed. It will help me polish it and finish it off. I also, when I talked about going around the park and videoing myself, that process of getting it down to 20 minutes is also done through Veed. So as soon as I get back, I upload it to Veed. I can remove all the background noise. So if I'm in the park and sirens are going off in the background, it is Coventry, so there are a lot of sirens that go off. If I want to, if I want to put a green screen in, if I want to add subtitles, these will all do that for me within a couple of seconds. I cannot stress this enough, how quick it is to get you that finished product of video that you're using. In terms of Veed, also, there are sort of multiple packages that you can use and stuff like that. It's also important to say, this is not an ad, by the way. I don't get any commission off of either of these platforms, but they're just ones that I genuinely really like and happy to champion. One I'm not so keen on is Hootsuite. Hootsuite looks a little bit like Trello, but what it does is it takes, you can create one post and then Hootsuite will distribute it across all your social media channels. Now, this was great about 5-6 years ago when the social media channels were all pretty much the same, other than Twitter, which had a 140 character limit. Now we've got so many different types of social media platform, and they all have different formats for posting. Unfortunately, when you put stuff through Hootsuite, it can actually change the formatting of how that post is meant to be posted on LinkedIn. So I was talking to a social media manager for a big bank about 3 weeks ago, and they were saying that they've actually banned Hootsuite in their company, but a lot of people still do use it. It might be just an easier, less time consuming way of distributing posts out on social media. So do have a look into that one. And ChatGPT, guys, I put a massive asterisk next to this one. Yes, I'm quite happy to admit I do use ChatGPT from time to time, but that is only to give me inspiration for the post that I'm putting out. You will notice quite quickly who's using ChatGPT on platforms and who isn't. If I see another post that says fostering collaboration, we've all seen them. I'm sure all of us have done it. I've even done it. I've had it in UK Homes Network where I've used ChatGPT, being a bit lazy, and I see fostering collaboration. ChatGPT has keywords that they recycle in, buzzwords that people can tell that it is done by an AI platform. So if you are going to use AI to create your posts, just make sure that it is done authentically in your own words. You'll also find like platforms, some platforms at the moment are detecting whether your content is written by AI, and they are actually down ranking it. So anything you take from ChatGPT, make sure you put into your own words. Now, if all of this seems like a massive faff and you would just like to connect with other people and talk about what it is you do within the property industry, yes, you can still create high quality images. Yes, you can put posts out, but you would also like to include links. You would also like to include as many hashtags and tag as many people as you would like to. Then UK Homes Network is the platform for you. In UK Homes Network, you can post to your heart's desire. You can direct message your contacts. You can dive into groups. We have some premium groups like House Match, Land Match, and Commercial, where you'll be able to find deals. You'll be able to share what it is that you're looking to do. We also have partnered up with a number of events around the country. So if you're into networking events or want to see more webinars like this, you can register for them all within the app. You get notifications just the same way that you do on social media. There is also a live streaming option for our partners, so they'll be able to live stream webinars or live stream on site directly into UK Homes Network. We've got video content, podcasts, and also a full members directory, so you can see everyone in the platform. You don't have to keep scrolling or try and find connections of connections to add people. UK Homes Network is the platform for you. So please do sign up. I'd love for you guys to join. We seem to be getting really, really busy at the moment. It just keeps going up another level in UK Homes Network. As I say, we hit 801 followers this morning, or 801 users. We're determined to get to 1,000 by Christmas, so I'd love it if you could all join. The reason we want to hit 1,000 is because we believe that organic growth is going to kick in, word of mouth starts to spread, and then the platform starts to grow quite rapidly. So if you haven't signed up to UK Homes Network, please do. And if you have learned anything from today, if you have enjoyed the webinar, please do share it with it in UK Homes Network so that people can check out some of our other webinars. If there's anything that you want to share, anything that you want to talk about, or even try out your skills from what you've learned from today, please do use UK Homes Network as a testing bed for it. I'd love to see your content in there. As I say, we've got lots of active members. 60% of our entire audience come back every week to UK Homes Network. And the great thing is that when you post into UK Homes Network, everyone sees it. So it's not a case of like LinkedIn where you 10 to 15% of only your 10 to 15% of your entire just connections see your post. When you post into the network, everyone sees it. So we'd love to have you in there. And of course, it's a lot more quantifiable. The ROI is technically higher based on percentages because more people are seeing your posts and algorithms aren't interfering. Ben said, I love UK Homes Network and great to have a focused platform for hardworking people involved in property. And Marie, I'm quite new. I think it's great. Thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I've been on for an hour now, and I appreciate you guys have all got very, very busy lives. But if you've got any other questions relating to social media, or you need any more help or looking for other ways to promote your business, I don't run courses. I don't sign people up for thousands of pounds to come on a workshop with me to do social media. I really like working with people on a one-to-one basis and understanding how their businesses work. So if you would appreciate a session on working on how to work your social media and how to get the most out of it, I'm always on hand. I don't charge for it. I just like working with people. So please do message me in UK Homes Network. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's amazing to see you all stick out to the end. I appreciate this is not what you're used to. You're used to normally a very esteemed guest. We've got a couple of our guests who've been on previous webinars actually on this call today. So I wonder what their feedback will be for me just doing this all by myself. There you go, Anthony, absolutely brilliant. Anthony did a webinar with us on latent defects last month. So if you've got a chance, check that out. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you so much for coming today. And hopefully I'll see you posting lots in UK Homes Network. Please tell all your friends, colleagues. And yeah, catch us next Friday where we'll be joined by Tony Walker. All right, cheers, guys. Take care. Bye bye.